Segment of the show for today. The topic is the crisis in Nigeria, and Dr. LMadu is explaining some of the recent developments in this great country. And of course, Dr. LMadu, we do mean it as a great country, and we might find it humorous that in some of the instances and some of the events, but this is a very, very serious international problem, and it seems that nobody's concerned about it, not even the people in Nigeria enough to well, let's go on.
Yes, you know, like we said before, it's a sad situation. Even in the former Soviet Union, you know, that has was one of the most secretive, you know, societies on earth at that time. Yeah, the people in that country knew when Brezhnev was sick. Yeah, they knew the hospital where he was, what was wrong with him. They knew that. When Chernenko took over from Brezhnev and got sick, yeah, the people were informed. They knew exactly where he was and what was wrong with him. When Andropov got sick, they were also informed. But in Nigeria of today, that is so-called democracy, they don't know where their president is. Nobody in that country can say that, okay? And that's very sad. That gives us, okay, who is this Jonathan? You know, good luck, Jonathan, who is acting president. From the information we have, you know, he was born in 1957. So you can say he's amongst the new generation of leaders in Nigeria and Africa. You know, he has a zoology degree, a PhD in zoology from the University of Port Harcourt. And as his name sounds, he's been very lucky. Quite frankly, I can say he's one of the most luckiest politicians in the world. He became governor in 2005 after his predecessor was arrested in London, you know, carrying bags of cash and all that. Yep, he became he became governor in 2005. In 2007, Obasanjo picked him with Yar'Adua to run together, president and vice president. So he became president, you know, he became vice president on May 29, 2007. Now, when Yar'Adua went into, you know, hospital November 23rd, you know, he was still vice president. But then February 9th, you know, the legislature empowered him, you know, to start acting as president. So he's been very lucky. It's been a meteoric rise.
Just right in the right places at the right time.
At the right time, exactly. You know, and according to his assets, you know, which he filed in 2007 before he became vice president, he's worth between $3 million to $8 million. You know. According to them.
As a zoologist.
As a zoologist.
But yeah, I apologize, you know, but it seems that, you know, I mean, he has amassed this huge fortune, and now he's the president. He's one of the presidents of Nigeria.
That's correct. Most of them always have, like you put this, you know, very, very well. Yep, you know, yes, amassed that fortune as a zoologist, that's correct. So that's whom he is. All indications seem that he's a humble man, you know, quiet, doesn't talk much. And I think that's why his opponents have underestimated him when this problem started. But I think under intense pressure from a lot of Nigerians, he has started asserting himself. After the incident, when Yar'Adua came back, he didn't even know the president was flying back that night. He didn't even know they've deployed troops in his own capital, the acting president. So after that, a lot of people started telling him, hey, you got to move quick and consolidate. So he fired a national security advisor called General Mokhtar, and appointed a man called General Aliyu Mohammed Guzo. He's Nigeria's chief spy master, and tried to end the slaughter in Jos, Nigeria, where Muslims and Christians are still slaughtering each other. Exactly. And Jonathan saw that as a security lapse and the deployment of troops. That's why he brought in Guzo, because Guzo is a, you know, trusted and competent hand in intelligence services to keep my eye on national security. Then under pressure also from citizens, you know, say, well, these ministers Yar'Adua appointed, you better get rid of them because 3/4 of them are not for you if you want to be safe. So he listened, and, you know, 2 days ago, he fired all of them, and now power is in the hands of the, you know, permanent secretaries, like we said before, until he appoints his own ministers. What is very important about him dismissing those ministers is really to get a grasp of the government. And one will say, okay, within this year left for him, you know, to act as president, because the next elections are in about probably a year's time. What can he do, or what do you expect him to do? Certain things must be done if he wants to keep the confidence of Nigerians that they have in him now. A is security. He has to have competent security people handle what's happening in the country now. Those in charge of those slaughter, you know, in Jos, Nigeria, must be brought to book. Because like I said in our last program, in the 1950s, you know, with all this ethnic and religious slaughters, nobody has ever been prosecuted. And you can't keep running a country like that. It becomes a jungle where you do anything you want, kill how many people, and nobody prosecutes you. He has to get a hand on security. There are a lot of kidnappings in the country now going around, particularly in the southeastern part of the country. Okay? He has to get a handle on that, because that threatens not only the security of the country, but also
individuals.
Exactly, individuals and business investments and all that. People can't go and invest when they know you are subject to being kidnapped. Okay, that's very important. We had what happened in December. You know, Motalab, the attempted airline, this thing. He has to get a handle on who is who and who is doing what. So that's important. 2, electricity. He must get a handle on that. Currently, the country produces about 37 megawatts of electricity, 37,000 megawatts, which is nothing. The state of Tennessee produces more than that. The state of Arkansas produces more than that.
Then the whole country of Nigeria.
Then the whole country of 150 million. Okay? The city of Los Angeles produces more than that. The city of New York produces more than that. The city of Detroit produces more than that. The city of Chicago produces more than that. Okay? So that must be dealt with. There's no way the country can move forward or industrialize without adequate and constant electric power supply.
Yes.
These things were there before. Even when the colonial masters left, they had a nice electric grid. And that must be done. Otherwise, people will feel that he's a failure. Okay, at least he must set the mechanism to make sure that that is enforced. Healthcare, that must be dealt with. There's no reason why a president of a powerful, rich country like this, of 150 million, should be disgracing everybody every time by running outside the country for medical care, when the country has the financial resources and the human resources to take care of that. There's no need at all for the governors to be running around everywhere like grasshoppers, going to clinics whenever they're sick, and they have the resources to do that. That must be tackled. And not only that, the question of electoral reform. Okay, himself has said it. There's no need for the country to be every time having elections nobody considers credible. Even the one that brought him to power, he knew it wasn't credible in the 2000 election. And so the first thing he has to do is, approve some electoral reforms that have already been submitted to him. Number one, something like having independent candidates. Right now, they don't have independent, it doesn't allow for independent candidates. They have to have that so that the political parties don't, grab all the political power for themselves. People have to choose if they want an independent or not. But to begin with, he must get rid of the current chairman of the Electoral Commission. In fact, the United States had asked for that through Johnny Carson, who is the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, who has called for him to remove the current chairman of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Maurice Iwu. And he has to do that in order for people to feel that there will be credible elections in 2011. If he doesn't do that, people will not have hope that that election is going to be fair and free.
Well, Dr. Madu, over the last minute and a half that we have here, what's the hope in reference to some kind of resolution within the next minute? How do you resolve this?
Well, I think once Jonathan appoints his own ministers now, a lot of people think Yar'Adua won't come back again, as president. But then, from what we've read before, when he was governor, he was absent for 6 months. And come back again. Okay.
This is a sad situation.
That's correct.
A sad ending to this discussion here, Dr. Madu, because it seems that, and this is Nigeria, one of the largest country in Africa.
That's correct.
One of the great democratic leaders in Africa. As a matter of fact, we've talked to you about democracy in Nigeria and et cetera. And now it's turning out to be something that we can, and we don't do it to scorn, but we do it primarily because the humor of it all. And
That's correct.
And
That's
The
correct.
unbelievability of it all.
That's
Something like this could happen to 150-odd million people.
That's correct.
And I think that the international community somebody ought to be able to say something about this, Dr. Madu.
That's correct.
Well, anyway, but let me thank our audience for tuning in this morning, and let me encourage you to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.